Everything being said in this video is based on opinion and speculation, and also please do not send any hate or harass anybody mentioned in this video. Thank you very much. I am so tired because I had to watch a 2.5 hour long video from Creepshow Art. And this is all in the midst of me having to do 5 million other things, which I will not bore you with the details of. And it actually, to be honest, came at a very inconvenient time because Shannon decided to post a 2.5 hour long video on New Year's Eve. I think we all had better things to be doing. So I didn't watch it then. It's now like more than a week later, and I'm watching it. But I did that for you guys, because I love you. You deserve it. What's crack, it's VangelinaSkov, and today we are going to be talking about Creepshow Art and her 2.5 hour long video. You're going to hear me say that a lot about Emily Artful. Now in this video, Creepshow Art is alleging that what Emily Artful did when she made her expose video on Creepshow Art was defamation and lies and slander and all the words that you could possibly use to describe that one kind of thing. I am not going to go over every single thing that happened up until now because I've already made videos on that. I've made videos about the situation between Emily Artful and Creepshow Art. I have made videos about the situation before Emily's video talking about the original reason why Creepshow Art was cancelled, because of lolcow and the posts that she was making there. So we're not going to go over all of that again. If you need a refresher, feel free to watch my videos. It's always good for me when you watch my videos again, so you know, I appreciate it. But no, today we're just going to be focusing on the video that Shannon posted, claiming that this was some sort of evidence that Emily had been lying and defaming her and blah 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 blah. There is a lot to unpack in it, there is a lot to say, but before we get into that, I would really appreciate if you would please subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out, and I really, you know, it makes me feel good, and it should make you feel good too, because you've made me feel good, and that's how human emotions tend to work sometimes. I don't know, just subscribe please. You can also turn on notifications, and if you think that you're already subscribed, then please just go ahead and double check that you are, because sometimes you think you are and YouTube said no, not anymore. And every time I say this, I have at least 3 comments that I can see anyway saying, oh my god, I never check when you say to check, but this time I checked and I was unsubscribed. What the hell, YouTube? So check. Anyway, right, let's talk about the video. I'm just going to say now, I'm not going to go and detail every single thing that Creepshow Art said in her video, because it can be summed up in several parts, and I don't feel like it's particularly useful to just relay everything that she said. Before we talk about any of it though, I am going to say I did go into this with like the most open mind that I possibly could. I thought, hey, let's see if Shannon really does that. Sorry, there's hair in my eyelashes. I kind of forgot I was filming a video and not just chatting with a friend, and now I'm just like picking at my eye. I went into it thinking maybe, you know, Shannon could have some evidence. Let's be open-minded about this. I always try to be. Sometimes I'm not as much, but I always try to be. And so I really did not go into this already thinking that Shannon was lying or just providing some rubbish. However, there are a lot of things in the video that stick out to me personally and to a lot of people online as being a little bit irrelevant. But first of all, let's talk about the very first thing that gets put into this video, and this is Shannon saying, if you are seeing this video, it's either because 1, my lawyers negotiated with Emily Artful's lawyers and we have reached a private settlement which resulted in some retraction, or 2, I took Emily to court for defamation and came out the other side. Now, from what we know, neither of these things have happened. And Emily says that this didn't happen either. Now, we can't obviously just take Emily's word for it, but Shannon did not specify which of these things it is, along with there being no court documents and Emily Artful saying, no, neither of these things have happened, and also no retraction having happened. You know, you kind of gotta wonder, did either of those things happen? It's looking like no, but who am I to say, you know? But I will say as well, if it's the first option, there was no retraction. There was no retraction of anything that Emily Artful said, and she still stands by her claims. If it was number 2, this was only a few months ago that this happened. Like, this was in the summer that everything happened between Emily and Creepshow Art. And generally, court cases take a lot longer than just a few months. Like, they can take up to a couple of years. And along with that, defamation cases are really, really, really hard to win. It's just the way that they're structured. It's very, very difficult to win a defamation case, and it usually does take years. Not saying that it couldn't be a shorter amount of time. It's just not entirely feasible that it would have happened in that short amount of time. But some people were pointing out on Twitter that this video was made 6 months after Shannon took her break from YouTube, meaning that she stopped uploading. Now, for those of you who are not savvy to the ways of YouTubers, we tend to be, not all of us, but the ones who do it professionally. Did I just say that I do this professionally? For those of us who do this professionally, we're monetized, which means we make money from AdSense. Now, there are certain criteria you have to meet to be monetized. The one that most people know is that you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 400 hours of watch. Oh my god, I don't remember. A certain number of hours of watch time. The other one is that you have to be active. So if you don't upload anything for 6 months, you will lose your monetization. So some people were speculating that perhaps Creepshow Art uploaded this video when she did, being the very last month of December, the very last day of December, New Year's Eve, was because she was going to lose her monetization on YouTube. Now, if that's the case, listen, if I hadn't uploaded in 6 months, I would upload on the 6 months just so I don't lose my monetization. I would do that. Now, I don't know if this is what she was doing, but it is a weird coincidence that it was just as she was about to lose monetization. So there's that. But now let's get into the bulk of the video, what's actually being discussed. And a lot of the first sections of this video are about Emily's relationships, because a big part of this story was to do with the mistreatment that she had received at the hands of Anthony, who was her ex-boyfriend and Creepshow Art's current husband. And I'm using the word mistreatment because I can't use the other word, the actual word that begins with A, because YouTube says, no, we don't like that word. Right, so I'm just using mistreatment. I know that is downplaying what this is, but it's the only word that I can use without, getting in trouble by Susan, right? What Creepshow Art is alleging is that Anthony never did anything wrong to Emily, that he was not a terrible boyfriend, that he never hurt her in any way, and shows what she claims are receipts of Emily never calling Anthony a bad boyfriend, never calling him a bad ex. One of these is a video of Emily saying that she only ever had 2 horrible exes, and Shannon claims that neither of these are Anthony. Of course, for argument's sake, what Shannon is saying could be true, but Emily not saying in a public YouTube video that Anthony was a terrible ex doesn't really prove anything, because I can fully understand not wanting to talk about an ex that you're actually scared of on social media or on YouTube or on anything. But we don't know what the case is, only Emily really knows. Now, Shannon also claims that what Emily's saying is not only not true, but that Emily was the one who was terrible to Anthony, claiming that there were several times when Emily had threatened Anthony in front of other people, and also that she harassed other women. But after Shannon says this, she doesn't elaborate on that anymore, and that feels like a really big thing to say and then not elaborate what you're talking. Can you give me some kind of receipt for that? There was no receipt for that, and there was no elaboration. It was just yeah, she threatened Anthony and was harassing women. Big claim, nothing to back it up, no further explanation. Now, another thing that Creepshow Art brings up is, again, some of Emily's ex-relationships. And she talks about the 2 people Emily saw after she was with Anthony, apparently. One of these was somebody called Sean, and Emily claimed that she got a fake cease and desist from the girl that he apparently cheated on her with. Another of these was Carl, and Emily apparently claims that she was stalked and harassed by his ex. Now, what I gather from this is that the reason that these things were brought up was to sort of dismiss Emily's claims against Anthony. Now, from what I got from this video, Shannon never once actually says, look, she's a liar, she claims this stuff all the time, so obviously she just has a pattern of this and she's lying about Anthony. She did sort of say it, but she didn't straight out say it. So she's kind of using these past experiences to discredit anything that Emily is saying about Anthony. But the issue with that is that, Emily saying that these other things happened to her in her past do not mean that another thing couldn't happen to her. And the other issue with that being like, okay, so let's say for argument's sake, she lied in those situations. She lied about Sean and Carol and their exes and future girlfriends and all of that. That again doesn't mean necessarily that what happened with Anthony didn't happen. That's not proof of that not happening. Do you understand what I'm saying? In either of these situations, whether she's telling the truth or she's not, that isn't any kind of evidence that nothing happened with Anthony. That's not evidence. Right, I'm going to move on from the exes thing. There's a lot more that I could say, but I'm going to move on from that and talk about basically what Shannon talked about for the majority of her video, which is Emily's use of certain things that are not good for your body, if you get what I'm saying. I can't use that word, I'm so sorry. But Shannon spends a lot of time trying to claim that Emily was not using these things when she said she was using these things. Because apparently Emily has some contradictions in what she said regarding her own story of use of stuff, and was apparently saying that she was sober from 2012. However, according to her other stories and things she said more recently, that was not the case. Now, this was all brought up because of something like I genuinely don't feel comfortable talking about it, and I don't know if it's okay to talk about it. Like, it's being tossed back and forth in these videos like it's just some sort of like drama, but it's not. But essentially, like, the thing that Emily is claiming that Anthony did to her when she was using these things, and that she was not in right mind because she was using them, therefore what Anthony did was not okay. I think most of you watching this video, at least to this point, will know what I'm talking about. So Shannon is, from what I'm gathering, is using this discrepancy in dates of when she was using and when she was not to mean that obviously she was not under the influence of these things when what happened with Anthony happened, and therefore Anthony did nothing wrong and everything is okay. There are so many issues with this, and I can't even list them all to you. Like, I really can't. First of all, people who are dependent on using certain things will lie about not using them. That is just a basic fact. And I feel like Shannon should know this as somebody who claimed in her video that she's had people in her life who have used these things. People do lie about it. It is just what happens. Not everybody will lie about it, but people lie about it. It's the same with when you have issues with food. You will lie about it. Now, Emily Artful has posted on Twitter with some sort of proof of her actually being using these things when she said she was. What's this? Proof that I was not, in fact, completely forever sober when Shannon claimed I was? That an addict lied about their couldn't be. Date of offense, 12th of the 8th, 2 months after Shannon claims. And this is a DUI, driving under the influence of and the combined influence of and alcohol. Now, she does elaborate on this DUI thing a bit more, but it's not entirely relevant to what we're talking about now, so I won't go into it. If you're interested, you can just see the thread on her Twitter. I keep trying to say Instagram, but this is not Instagram. I don't want to keep going on about this too much, but like, Shannon spends a lot of the video claiming that Emily is lying about her use of these things, which is just inherently wrong in so many ways. And also, how is this relevant to anything? Like, I understand that Shannon is using this as a way to be like, look, she lied about Anthony, but that does not... None of this is adding up. None of this is evidence for what you say it is evidence for. And none of this is evidence that you and Anthony didn't stalk her. And again, none of us can say for 100% fact that Shannon did stalk Emily. None of us can say that. We don't know that for sure. We can speculate, but we don't know that for sure. But the evidence that, I'm using evidence very lightly here, the stuff that Shannon is putting in this video to claim as evidence, look, we didn't do anything wrong, is not evidence. And a lot of it is honestly irrelevant. Yes, some stuff in Emily's story does not line up entirely. And there are some other things in this video that Shannon brings up that do not fully line up with Emily's retelling of events. There's no point not saying that there were things that Emily said that didn't line up with some of the receipts that Shannon showed. However, none of that seems relevant to the actual issue of did you and your husband stalk and harass Emily? If you're gonna do a 2.5-hour video showing receipts, should the receipts not be in some way relevant to the things that you're being accused of? Now, what I do want to point out on the topic of stalking, there were some issues with some of the links in Creepshow Art's video. Now, there was a whole thing about her copying and pasting the links, and there was like, they weren't clickable because they were copied and pasted. But beyond that, let's not talk about that for now, because it's not too I don't care. I don't care about that bit. It seems to not be an actual issue. Truth Sleuth, another YouTuber, pointed out something about some of the links that Creepshow Art had put in the description of her video. Now, Creepshow Art had put links that were archives of Emily's old accounts. And these were obviously stuff that Shannon had archived to prove her point and to prove that these accounts were that they were real and she was not faking receipts. So they were all archived in August of 2021, except for a few of them. Now, 2 of them were of this channel that Emily had a couple of years back called Emily Sugarfruit, and they were both archived in August of 2013 when the channel had under 1,000 subscribers. Why would anybody be archiving this YouTube channel in 2013 with under 1,000 subscribers? Why would anybody be archiving that? That's all I'm asking. There are also some old DeviantArt accounts that were archived much, much earlier, like one that was archived in 2015, despite the account's last post being in 2013 and having like no followers. Shannon, where did you find these archives? Where did you find these archives? Did you archive them in 2013, 2015? Did Anthony archive them in 2013 or 2015? Or did you just happen to be very lucky and come across archives of accounts that nobody would have been paying attention to from like almost a decade ago? Where did you find these archives? I would like to know that. But let's move on from that, shall we? There's obviously a lot of questions, and these questions have kind of led people to think that perhaps Shannon has potentially proved herself as a stalker because of the amount of receipts and things that she had on Emily and all of these archived things and stuff that Emily had said years and years ago about pretty much everything. People are starting to think that Shannon has proved that she is a stalker. I'm not saying that's the case, I'm just saying that's what a lot of people do think. Obviously, right, though, a lot of things were left out of this video. One of these things is to do with the IP address that Emily got with a tracking link that she had used. Emily had used this tracking link to try and find the IP address of a stalker, and this IP address led directly to the library, the public library that Shannon has publicly said that she used. There was no mention of that in the video. There was no mention of anything that actually cleared her and Anthony's names. And there was no mention of anything to do with the initial reason that she was called out on social media, which was for her lolcow posts. Now, I do understand, obviously, that the Emily Artful situation is much, 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 much more serious than posts on lolcow. I do get that. But I just don't get why I mean, I have my theories as to why she didn't mention this in her video, and I think that's because she can't prove that she didn't make these posts and therefore is hoping people just forget about it and just focus on, hey, look, you've proved your innocence about the Emily stuff, obviously you're fine, even though nobody thinks she's proved her innocence, and most people are actually calling this a failed hit piece on Emily. Now, Creepshow Art did say in a pinned comment on her own video, any comment asking why you didn't address blank or what Butt Munchers 75 said about you in their video with 45 views. If they didn't accuse me of literal felonies, then I really don't care at the moment. There's a difference between people thinking I'm a and someone saying I committed literal crimes that are so foul that I was seen on the street by someone and recognized I would be assaulted. There's a reason Emily got a legal notice and other people didn't, because one thing is more serious than the other. If you can't understand that, then one day I hope never comes a time when you can relate to this. I read that sentence really wrong, because it's terrible. touch grass. But still, I think there are a lot of people who were really hurt by the things that she allegedly did on lolcow, and a lot of people would like an explanation. Again, I do understand that this is a much more serious and much more pressing issue, but say something. Say something. You're not even mentioning the word lolcow. You're like trying to pretend it didn't happen. In relation to the whole letter document thing that happened, yes, Emily did receive a letter from Shannon's lawyer, essentially a letter saying take all of this down, and Emily did post about it a little bit on Twitter. But let's sum up everything. This video shows a lot of screenshots and receipts from Emily's teenage years, from her younger years, which are pretty much irrelevant to the actual accusations that are being made, and none of these things seem to clear Shannon and Anthony's names. None of the stuff that was showed was actual evidence of them being innocent, and it all seems a little bit irrelevant. But that's just a theory, game theory. I'm gonna leave now with that joke because it's so overused. The video can finish itself. I don't know. Anyway, again, I'm just going to say this, and I'm also probably going to edit this into the start of the video because I forgot to say it at the start of the video. Everything being said in this video is based on opinion and speculation, and also please do not send any hate or harass anybody mentioned in this video. Thank you very much. Do let me know in the comments though, what do you think about this whole mess? Do you agree that it's a failed hit piece, or do you think that I'm an absolute idiot and that Shannon actually did clear her and Anthony's names? And if you don't want to comment about that, then leave me a comment and say congratulations for turning on your stupid IKEA light, Vangelina. If you know, you know. I don't know what else to say to you. Like, comment, share, and do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of the video, including following me on social media, which I forgot to say. Follow me there. I post things occasionally. Yeah, follow me and have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!